In our headlines on this Tuesday, June 9th, here in South Korea, President Lee Jae-myung departs on a 10-day trip to Europe today that includes Belgium, Italy, the Vatican and France, aimed at advancing pragmatic diplomacy. And the South Korean benchmark Kospi regains the 8,000 mark as investors engage in a buying spree on this Tuesday, bolstered by tech gains on Wall Street. Meanwhile, findings for the month of April show spending by foreign tourists here in the country soared to a new high at well over 1.3 trillion won, up nearly 55% on year. President Lee Jae-myung has embarked on a 10-day trip to Europe today that begins in Belgium, then takes him to Italy as well as the Vatican before ending in France. That being said, our Blue House correspondent Song Yoo-jin gives us a preview of his agenda in Belgium.
President Lee Jae-myung has begun his first trip to Europe since taking office, aiming to deepen ties with the European Union and key partners across the continent. His first stop is Belgium, which has had the 125 years of diplomatic relations with Korea as of this year. After meeting with members of the Korean community on Tuesday, Lee is scheduled to hold talks with Belgian Prime Minister Bart de Wever in Brussels on Wednesday morning.
As the first meeting between the leaders of our two governments since the launch of the current administration, we expect discussions on practical ways to elevate bilateral cooperation to the next level.
Seoul is particularly interested in expanding economic cooperation with Belgium, home to the port of Antwerp, Europe's second-largest seaport. In the afternoon, Lee is set to meet European Council President Antonio Costa and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen.
The European Union is the world's largest trading bloc and Korea's third-largest trading partner. As a partner that shares our commitment to democracy, market economics, and a rules-based international order, the EU is essential to Korea's ambition to emerge as a G7+ diplomatic power.
Trade and security cooperation are expected to top the agenda. Bilateral goods trade between Korea and the EU reached a record $136.8 billion last year. Also likely to be discussed is intelligence sharing and combating transnational crimes, building on the EU-ROK Security and Defense Partnership launched in 2024. After Belgium, Lee will travel to Italy, the Vatican, and France. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
The South Korean economy expanded 1.8% on quarter during the first 3 months of this year, higher than an earlier estimate supported by strong facility investments and stellar overseas shipments. Our Kim Do-yeon files this report.
Korea's real gross domestic product expanded 1.8% in the first quarter of 2026 compared to the previous quarter. According to the Bank of Korea's preliminary data released Tuesday, this represents a 0.1 percentage point upward revision from the central bank's advanced estimate. On a yearly basis, the economy grew 3.8%. The stronger reading was supported by final data indicating faster than expected progress in display and semiconductor investments. Overall facility investments surged 6.6%, while private consumption increased 0.6%. Exports advanced 5.9% on quarter, heavily backed by global demand for IT products like semiconductors.
The 0.1 percentage point upward revision to the first quarter real GDP will act to raise the annual growth rate by 0.1 percentage point for the entire year.
The most notable shift during the first quarter was the unprecedented surge in national income. Nominal GDP jumped 10.5% on quarter, marking the highest level since the first quarter of 1976. Real gross national income rose a record 9.2% from the previous quarter, sharply outpacing actual production growth. The central bank added that the GDP deflator rose 12.9% year-on-year due to the surge in semiconductor export prices, which significantly improved corporate profitability. The central bank attributed the unusual income surge directly to these improved terms of trade.
As the price of our key export, semiconductors, has surpassed the price increases of energy like crude oil, our main import, an unusual situation has occurred where GDI has significantly outpaced GDP.
If this corporate performance and nominal growth trend continues, Bank of Korea officials project the nation's per capita gross national income could reach its next major milestone much earlier than the previously anticipated target of 2028. For 2025, per capita GNI stood at $36,963. 김도현, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, on the local bourse, the benchmark Kospi regained tangible ground on this Tuesday, bolstered by tech gains on Wall Street. Our Kim Jun-ong covers this rebound as well as efforts to address the weakening won.
Korea's benchmark Kospi bounced back sharply on Tuesday, just a day after a steep market sell-off. The index closed at 8,096.93, up 8.18% from the previous session, with strong early buying triggering buy-side sidecars, one time each for both the Kospi and Kosdaq. After opening more than 2% higher, the Kospi extended gains through the day and reclaimed the 8,000 level. The rebound recovered much of the previous day's losses when the Kospi plunged more than 8% and the Kosdaq over 9%. A rebound in U.S. tech stocks overnight helped lift markets, with semiconductor shares leading the advance. Easing tensions in the Middle East helped cool oil prices, adding to positive mood. However, analysts say optimism and concerns surrounding the chip sector continue to drive sharp market fluctuations.
While concerns over semiconductor demand may pressure chip stocks temporarily, the underlying fundamentals remain unchanged. That helps explain why markets continue to rebound after corrections.
Pressure in the currency market also showed signs of easing. The $1 exchange rate closed at 1,512.1 won on Tuesday, down 22.91 from the previous session. The move marked a pullback just a day after the currency opened at its highest opening level in 17 years. Monday's pledge by the government and central bank to respond firmly to excessive currency volatility helped calm markets.
The authorities' verbal intervention, along with forward dollar sales by the National Pension Service, appears to have eased pressure on the currency market. Easing foreign outflows from local equities also contributed to the move.
Still, government measures are widely seen as capable of slowing excessive moves rather than reversing the broader trend. Markets are now looking ahead to U.S. inflation data due later this week, seen as the next key catalyst. The outcome could influence expectations for the upcoming Federal Reserve meeting, with any hawkish signals likely to pressure the won further. Kim Jun-ho, Arirang News.
And on Wall Street, as mentioned earlier, the stock market there secured some ground on Monday as tech shares recovered some of last week's sell-off. Our Lee Sing-jae has the numbers.
Wall Street regained some ground on Monday after last week's sharp sell-off, as technology stocks tied to the artificial intelligence boom rebounded and helped lift investor sentiment. The S&P 500 rose 0.3% after suffering its biggest one-day decline since October on Friday. The Nasdaq Composite gained 0.9%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 80 points or 0.2%. Leading the recovery were semiconductor and memory chip makers, which had seen a heavy sell-off amid concerns that AI-related stocks had become overvalued. Those worries had also weighed on Asian markets, with South Korea's Kospi falling more than 8% on Monday's trading, as shares of major tech companies including Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix came under pressure. Despite the recent sell-offs, experts say semiconductor stocks are still a strong buy.
So there is a lot of appetite from smart investors to continue to fund this whole investment cycle in AI, and that's going to filter down to, again, parts of the technology sector like semiconductors.
U.S. memory chip maker Micron Technology jumped nearly 10% on Monday, recovering from a steep decline on Friday. Investors were encouraged by news that SK Hynix and AI chip giant NVIDIA have entered a multi-year technology partnership to develop next-generation memory products for AI infrastructure. While some initially viewed the agreement as a potential threat to Micron, analysts noted that NVIDIA did not designate SK Hynix as an exclusive supplier. That reassurance helped ease concerns that Micron could lose market share. Investors also took comfort from comments by NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, who said the company has certified Micron, SK Hynix, and Samsung Electronics as suppliers of its latest high-bandwidth memory technology, known as HBM4. The developments reinforced expectations that demand for advanced memory chips will remain strong as AI investment continues to expand, helping stabilize technology shares after a volatile end to last week. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And back here in South Korea, on the eve of his departure from Seoul, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang reaffirmed his confidence in South Korea's prospects of success in AI-related ventures while urging greater government support for AI startups. Our business correspondent Park Jun-han covers his remarks and more.
Before wrapping up his visit to Korea, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang explained the reason for his trip and the significance of the deals announced while here.
Today, Korea is world leader in heavy industry and manufacturing. Korea is also world-class in electronics. And it's very interesting that it's very unique that Korea is also among the world's leaders in software and AI. That is very unique. Korea is great at all of it. This is a unique situation. Korea is maybe only after United States and China in AI research.
Huang made the comments before the Korea AI ecosystem reception, a closed-door meeting of tech leaders in Korea to discuss advancing AI in Korea. To support this AI ecosystem, NVIDIA is expanding its ties with domestic tech giants, including Samsung Electronics, SK Hynix, Hyundai Motor Group, LG Group, Doosan, and Naver. Huang revealed that the partnerships will create unprecedented economic value.
We're going to bring in enormous amounts of investment. We're also going to, of course, build AI factories, AI research centers. I think it is very easy to say that over the next 5 years, hundreds of billions of dollars of revenues will come into Korea. That's our gift.
Beyond massive corporate deals, Huang urged investment into Korean AI startups, calling the country a fantastic place to build the future of technology. Following the media scrum, Korea's ICT Minister Bae Kyung-hoon shared the government's response. Bae said NVIDIA had agreed to co-invest in the domestic AI ecosystem alongside the government.
On AI investment, we agreed that if Korea is to become one of the world's top 3 AI powers, the focus should not be limited to semiconductors, AI infrastructure, or AI models led by large corporations. Strong AI services are equally important. The government has therefore decided to support investment in the broader AI ecosystem, including AI services.
Wrapping up his schedule in Korea, Jensen Huang left Korea on Tuesday morning, saying he was grateful for the opportunity to partner with Korea and that he expects to return in the near future. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
In other news now, spending on K-culture by foreign tourists to South Korea soared almost 55% on year in April to hit a fresh high. Our correspondent Chung Hae-rim covers this reality, its reasons and broader implications.
Korean culture tourism is boosting the country's economy as foreign visitor spending linked to cultural activities reaches a record high. According to the Korea Tourism Organization's Visit Korea Data Lab, Korean culture consumption totaled 1.328 trillion won, or approximately $873 million in April. The figure marks the highest monthly total since the agency began tracking the data and represents a more than 54% increase from a year earlier. Culture consumption, or global Hallyu consumption, tracks spending by foreign visitors on activities including concerts, shopping, beauty, fashion, and cultural experiences.
I think mostly we bought like skincare products, maybe also a lot of sunscreen. So we pretty much went everywhere, but mostly it's like Myeongdong and Hyundai for activities.
K-pop global hitmakers BTS held the band's historic comeback concert here at Gwanghwamun Square in March. Spending topped 1 trillion won, or about $658 million for the first time that month, and climbed even higher in April. Tourism officials point to BTS's return as a major driver behind the surge, but spending wasn't limited to concerts. From K-pop merchandise and Korean beauty products to food, visitors are increasingly engaging with various aspects of Hallyu during their stay.
So far we bought a lot of clothes and K-pop albums. I really like bulgogi and Korean hot pot and stuff. I think I've always really been interested in the culture. Like growing up I liked K-pop a lot and it's so pretty here.
Shopping accounted for the largest share of spending in April at 38.4%, followed by beauty and wellness, fashion, lifestyle food, and Korean cuisine. Tourism officials say these categories continue to attract visitors from around the world, helping turn the global popularity of Hallyu into a growing source of economic activity. 정혜림, Arirang News.
Despite speculation here in South Korea, the latest summit between the leaders of China and North Korea that took place in Pyongyang earlier on Monday did not address prospects of nuclear disarmament on the Korean peninsula. Our senior correspondent Oh Soo-young reports.
Chinese President Xi Jinping and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un held a rare summit in Pyongyang on Monday, emphasizing military relations, with no public mention of denuclearization. The talks were held at the Kumsusan State Guest House on the first day of Xi's two-day state visit to North Korea, his first in 7 years. According to China's CCTV, Xi called for stronger political trust and practical cooperation, and also proposed closer exchanges in diplomacy, law enforcement, and military affairs. He also called for expanded cooperation in trade, agriculture, construction, science and technology, and healthcare, as well as more people-to-people exchanges through reopened border crossings, civil aviation, and international passenger rail links. The North Korean Central News Agency said the two leaders agreed to open a new chapter in bilateral ties by strengthening high-level strategic communication and expanding exchanges across politics, the economy, and culture. However, the summit produced no reference to denuclearization, despite renewed attention on the issue, after Washington said last month that Presidents Donald Trump and Xi Jinping shared the goal of denuclearizing North Korea. Seoul had also been watching the visit closely, hoping China's engagement with Pyongyang could support peace and stability on the Korean peninsula.
China has absolutely no reason to aggressively push a denuclearization agenda. Seoul appears to be hoping that China can play a mediating role and help revive North Korea-US dialogue and even inter-Korean dialogue. We place a lot of expectations on mediation, but I do not think China is willing at this point to bear that burden.
My sense is there's not going to be a big breakthrough on denuclearization or transformation on Korean Peninsula issues. Xi is likely not to ask Kim Jong-un to engage with Lee Jae-myung because Kim has made it clear it's an internal issue for North Korea, and this diplomacy will not be dictated by outsiders.
Instead, the two leaders repeatedly emphasized strategic coordination, sovereignty, and security. Regarding the Kim-Xi summit, Seoul's Unification Ministry noted on Tuesday that it was the first time the two sides mentioned military exchanges, with defense chiefs also unusually present at the talks. Officials say the summit reaffirmed traditional ties while paving the way for expanded high-level cooperation. On Tuesday, Kim and Xi visited an educational facility in Pyongyang and the North Korea-China Friendship Tower, a monument honoring Chinese soldiers killed during the Korean War before Xi's return to Beijing. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
And in the Middle East, Israel and Iran have halted their rampant trading of recent fire following warnings from U.S. President Donald Trump. Our Kim Bo-kyung has the latest.
Following a rapid escalation of hostilities in recent days, Iran and Israel have announced a pause in their military operations against each other. That followed a post from U.S. President Donald Trump on Truth Social on Monday, in which he said both sides are looking to do an immediate ceasefire. According to Axios, on Monday, Trump spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and warned him that if Israel went back to war with Iran, he might find himself fighting alone. On Sunday, Trump told Fox News that Tehran should stop firing missiles, return to the negotiating table, and make a deal. Iran's Islamic Revolution Guard Corps announced the end of missile attacks on Israel on Monday, but did warn of harsher attacks if strikes against Lebanon continue.
Qadam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters stressed in the statement that if aggression and malicious acts continue, including in southern Lebanon, much harsher and more crushing actions will follow.
Israel also confirmed a cessation of attacks, adding it would respond with force if Iran attacks again.
At the moment, the fire has ceased, because after we struck the terrorist regime in Tehran, it stopped attacking us. If the terrorist regime makes the mistake of attacking us again, we will respond with force.
On Sunday, Iran fired around 10 ballistic missiles toward northern Israel for the first time since a ceasefire was agreed in April, in retaliation for Israel's strikes against the pro-Iranian militant group Hezbollah in the southern suburbs of Beirut, Lebanon. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. Confirmed Ebola deaths in the Democratic Republic of Congo passed 100 on Monday as armed groups continue to block health workers from reaching the hardest hit areas. Congo's government reported 35 new confirmed cases and 10 deaths in a single day, bringing the total deaths to 101 and confirmed cases to 550 across the conflict-ridden provinces of Ituri, North Kivu, and South Kivu. A burial team was attacked at a cemetery in Bunia on Sunday, leaving 2 people seriously injured. The World Health Organization Director General visited Uganda on Monday and urged it to reconsider its border closure with Congo, saying blanket travel restrictions do not stop Ebola. Uganda has confirmed 19 cases, mostly linked to people who crossed from Congo. In the Philippines, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake off the southern island of Mindanao on Monday killed at least 35 people and injured more than 130. It also triggered tsunami warnings across several countries before they were canceled 6 hours later. The quake struck about 20 kilometers off the coast of Sarangani province early in the morning as schools were reopening after a long break. Buildings collapsed in General Santos City, home to around 700,000 people, and more than 200 aftershocks followed, including one measuring 6.7. Tsunami warnings were issued for the southern Philippines, northern Indonesia, Malaysia, and Australia before being lifted. Leftist Congressman Roberto Sanchez overtook conservative Keiko Fujimori in Peru's presidential count on Monday with 94% of ballots tallied. Sanchez held 50.01% against Fujimori's 49.99%, with rural votes still being counted. Fujimori had led exit polls and early results, but her margin narrowed through the night. Sanchez has proposed a major overhaul of Peru's economic system and reforms to large mining concessions in the world's third largest copper producer. A final result is not expected until July. Chu Ji-han, Arirang News.
Skies were clear nationwide today. Cooler, drier air will keep temperatures close to seasonal averages through the middle of the week. Tomorrow, most regions will enjoy plenty of sunshine, while the capital area and Gangwon-do province will remain mostly cloudy. Rain is expected from the morning through the evening in northern inland Gyeonggi-do province and northern and central inland Gangwon-do province. Elsewhere, sunny skies will allow UV levels to climb to very high levels in many areas. Strong sunshine will also lead to elevated ozone levels. Unlike UV rays, ozone cannot be blocked with a hat or umbrella, so it's best to limit outdoor activities during the hottest part of the day. Tomorrow, Seoul will start the day at 17 degrees Celsius, Daejeon at 15 degrees, Busan at 17 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 26 degrees, Daegu at 30 degrees, Gwangju at 29 degrees. On Thursday, scattered showers are expected across central areas and parts of Gyeongsangbuk-do province. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.